Venezuela to convene World Anti-Fascist Congress, announced by President Maduro. Putin announced that Russia offers safe haven for people trying to escape Western liberal ideals. Reportedly, Alex Jones considers leaving U.S. and social media approves. Venezuela to convene World Anti-Fascist Congress, announced by President Maduro. Putin announced that Russia offers safe haven for people trying to escape Western liberal ideals. Reportedly, Alex Jones considers leaving U.S. and social media approves. French left splits again after Mélenchon calls for Macron's impeachment.
Officers involved in Kinmen capsizing not charged, and Chinese mainland criticizes Taiwan's findings on fatal fishing boat incident near Jinmen. Chinese and Philippine ships collide at Sabina Shoal, a new flashpoint. German warships await orders on crossing Taiwan Strait.
UAW workers at Stellantis could strike over Illinois plant reopening. GM is cutting more than 1,000 workers from its software business. Harley-Davidson drops diversity efforts after attacks by anti-DI activists.
In the UK, move to East prison overcrowding as more rioters jailed, also public urge to hand in zombie knives and machetes to police, ahead of ban. Misogyny to be treated as extremism by UK government.
Donald Trump posts AI images that falsely claim Taylor Swift endorsed him. Also, Trump shares fake image of Harris speaking to communist event. Harris proposes raising the corporate tax rate to 28%, rolling back a Trump law. Key Democratic patron Ron Conway departs from top crypto super PAC Fair Shake, claims a report. Comedian Eric Andre alleges he was racially profiled at Melbourne Airport. BB Rexa says she was a victim of a hate crime after being banned from German airline for speaking Albanian. Ottawa Pride loses key allies over anti-Israel stance. Democrats start convention with Biden passing torch to Harris. Kamala Harris walks out to Beyoncé and a standing ovation during DNC debut. Ocasio-Cortez, once an outsider, takes center stage at convention. In the United States, Republicans open impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden 3 months before the presidential election.
Trump pulls out of interview after paper questions his dubious claims about crime rate. Stephanie Grisham, former Trump press secretary, says Harris has my vote. Beyoncé was never scheduled to attend 2024 Democratic National Convention, Rep says.
Kamala Harris accepts nomination for president, saying Trump and allies are out of their minds, and accepting historic nomination. Harris vows America, not China, will win 21st century. Trump threatens huge tariffs on countries that don't accept deported migrants, and Panama unveils deportation flights to China, India, and Ecuador to stem U.S.-bound migration.
Ioniq 5N named 2024 World Performance Car, signaling fourth major victory for all electric Ioniq 5 lineup in the last 3 years. BMW overtakes Tesla in European electric car market. GM-owned Cruise will partner with Uber to offer driverless rides.
Inflatable Ukrainian F-16 decoy emerges at defense show. NATO airbase in Germany raises security level due to potential threat. German intelligence agency BND is scouting for fresh talents during Gamescom.
Putin shifts blame as Kursk failures dampen Russians' approval. 2 weeks ago, Russia declares state of emergency in Kursk as Ukraine pushes incursion. Russia begins installing concrete shelters in Kursk region amid Ukrainian incursion. Finland to deploy around 5,000 NATO troops near Russian border.
Former U.S. ambassador to UN pushes for Taiwan's UN membership, stronger global stand against China. Trinidad is redrawing its coat of arms to remove Columbus' 3 famous ships. She meets Belarusian president in Beijing, vows to deepen ties. Stellantis shareholders sue automaker in U.S. after low earnings. China takes the lead in Latin America's automotive market. Diplomatic missions in Ethiopia now included in fossil fuel-powered vehicles import ban.
Canada forces arbitration in freight train labor dispute to avert economic crisis. Union cries foul. Reportedly, looming Canadian railroad work stoppage threatens U.S. supply chains. In Argentina, the government has freed up competition for gas exports. SCMP comments as, Boeing's first engineer came from China. Now it hires mostly from India.
Malaysia seen pausing rate through 2024 as inflation risks fade. Yen climbs as Ueda indicates that rates can go higher in Japan, and dollar slips against yen ahead of Powell's speech. Russian inflation soars past 70% since Ukraine invasion, surpassing official figures.
Chipmaker Kioxia aims to list in Tokyo in October, Nikkei says. In Japan, a Kyoto anime studio opens job opportunities for autistic artists. Reuters reports that Chinese entities turn to Amazon Cloud and its rivals to access high-end US chips, AI.
Most frugal woman in Japan spends $1.40 a day on food, saves enough to buy 3 houses by 34. Australia's Qantas blames coding error for 85% discount on first-class flights. Bald eagle feared injured turns out to be healthy, just too fat to fly, after big meal.
Russia's deadly overnight barrage of missiles and drones hits over half of Ukraine, officials say. Russia says it disrupted Ukraine's power network and arms supplies with massive strike.
Tusk government promises to shorten working hours. Australians now have the right to ignore work calls and emails during free time. LA to pay more than $38 million for failing to make affordable housing accessible.
North Korea's Kim calls for country's development of more suicide drones. In the US, Hungarian national arrested on charges of conspiring to export US military-grade radios to Russian government end users.
Hungary reportedly starts evicting some Ukrainian refugees from shelters based on new law, an EU executive to contact Budapest over eviction of Ukrainian refugees. Security services say Norway energy industry faces Russia threats. China and Saudi Arabia cease isocyanate exports to Russia.
The Sardov region injures residents. Putin seizes $100 million from Google to fund Russia's war machine. Ukraine seeks UK green light to strike Moscow and St. Petersburg targets with Storm Shadow missiles. In the most massive and expensive airstrike, Russia spent $1.20 to $1.3 billion on the missile attack on Ukraine on August 26, as Forbes estimates. Poland says drone likely entered its airspace during Russian attack on Ukraine. Wagner Group claims to no longer be fighting in Ukraine. In Russia's largest attack, Ukraine's defense forces destroy over 200 out of 236 Russian missiles and drones.
Dutch watchdog finds Uber $324 million for unsafe transfer of driver data to U.S. In New Zealand, court rules Uber drivers are employees, not contractors. When Boeing Starliner comes back empty, it'll destroy the malfunctioning thrusters, making it impossible to study what went wrong. J.D. Power study finds growing frustration with advanced tech. Xpeng aims to assemble EVs in Europe to blunt impact of import tariffs, CEO says. United States Department of Transportation releases seminal plan for nationwide V2X, vehicle-to-everything deployment. These technologies allow vehicles to communicate real-time information directly with other vehicles, infrastructure, and vulnerable road users to improve transportation outcomes across the board.
Photos of herself as a teen. Soldier in Alaska used AI to make fake porn of children he knew, federal authorities say. Malaysia planned to license social media platforms, sparks pushback, as tech giants urge Malaysia to pause plan for social media platform licenses. 1 month ago it had been announced as Malaysia to ask social media platforms with over 8 million users to get licenses.
Fed cuts may send $1 trillion FX avalanche to China, Jen says. Chinese stock exchanges to stop releasing data on overseas fund flows. Sex case against Kraken will proceed to trial, California judge rules. Korean authorities eye budget bump with funds for chips, K-pop. Inflation in Germany fell below 2% for the first time in August, according to Deutsche Bank, as Germany confirms economy shrank in second quarter. UK shop prices fall for first time in almost 3 years.
Russia warns of consequences if Poland attempts to intercept missiles over Ukraine. Germany deploys a tank brigade to Lithuania. Modi to visit Ukraine, weeks after Kyiv condemned Indian PM for hugging Putin in Moscow, and India ready to extend all support for peaceful resolution of Ukraine conflict, announced by Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Confirming Netanyahu accepts U.S. deal proposal, Blinken says Hamas must now do the same. Abbas said to ask Israel to allow Gaza visit as PA works to line up support for trip. Hamas, Islamic Jihad claim credit for Tel Aviv suicide operation.
Tanker carrying 150,000 tons of oil hit in biggest Red Sea attack in weeks. An oil tanker Saunian poses environmental risk after Houthi attack in Red Sea. India surpasses China to become Russia's top oil buyer in July. Houthis targeted 182 ships in total, 21 operations in the last week.
Hamas said to decide to target Israelis abroad in bid to avenge Haniyeh killing. October 7th mastermind and Hamas leader Yehya Sinwar reportedly adds new demand for ceasefire deal with "Don't kill me." UN announced Israel forcibly displaced 250,000 Gazans in August. Bullet wounds and bodies of all 6 hostages from Gaza suggest they were killed by captors.
At least 100 people killed in central Burkina Faso in latest jihadi attack. Denmark shuts embassies in junta-led Mali and Burkina Faso, following military coups. Paris commemorates the 80th anniversary of liberation from German occupation. Palestinian Authority to attend BRICS summit, apply for membership, and Palestine asked Russia for support ahead of Abbas' visit to Gaza, ambassador said.
Reportedly, Israel is buying Google ads to discredit the UN's top Gaza aid agency. Yahya Sinwar reportedly hiding in plain sight dressed as a woman. Pakistani judge acquits a man over spreading misinformation that sparked riots in UK.
China's military to conduct armed patrols, live fire exercises near Myanmar border, as Myanmar junta set to lose restive state to ethnic armed group. 3 months ago, powerful ethnic armed group in western Myanmar claims to capture base and hundreds of soldiers. Former Malaysian leader Muhyiddin charged with sedition for allegedly mocking former king. Japan scrambles fighters after Chinese military plane incursion.
Venezuela's Supreme Court certifies Maduro's claims that he won presidential election. Germany's president approves the date for next year's national election. Lingo Telecom agrees to $1 million fine over AI-generated Biden robocalls.
Kamala Harris vows new way forward as she accepts Democratic nomination. We'll ensure America always has strongest, most lethal fighting force, says Kamala Harris. Harris says Israel has right to defend itself, Palestinians need dignity, security, as Kamala Harris caps convention with call to end Gaza war, fight tyranny. Paris prosecutors request trial for Gerard Depardieu over rape and sexual assault allegations. Indonesia's Widodo faces lawsuit over hijab removing controversy at Independence Day ceremonies. New Taliban laws ban women's voices and bare faces in public. Democrats get a third-party hopeful knocked off Pennsylvania ballot as Cornel West tries to get on. Central Park 5 appear at DNC to slam Trump over their infamous case. U.S. investigating Americans who worked with Russian state television, and Putin honors TASS news agency with order for valorous labor for role in media industry.
Russia opens criminal investigation into CNN correspondent for reporting in Ukrainian-occupied Russia. North Korean table tennis players under scrutiny for taking selfies with South Korean athletes. Taliban sacks hundreds of men because they can't grow beards, as Taliban morality police dismiss over 280 men without beards from security forces.
In the UK, Starmer to reconsider building scrapped HS2 route. 10 months ago, Labour cannot promise HS2 to Manchester, said Keir Starmer. 2 child benefit caps set to stay, as Reeves faces surprise £3 billion debt rise. In the UK, rape investigators diverted to police football matches and festivals, inspection fines.
Trump says he's refusing intel briefings, so he won't be accused of leaks. Arizona man accused of posting threats to Trump is arrested. Mega mocks Tim Walz's son for crying during DNC speech, and Rosie O'Donnell, Anna Navarro blast Heartless and Coulter for mocking Tim Walz's son, who has learning disorder, for crying at DNC.
Cartel risks to Mexican judiciary from AMLO bill. Indonesia drops plan to revise election law after protests, and Indonesia stocks rebound after protests derail election law. In Brazil, a project aims to make daily pledging allegiance to the Brazilian flag mandatory in secondary and primary schools.
France's Macron won't name leftist prime minister, prolonging political crisis. Donald Trump threatens to pull out of the 10th of September presidential debate, as Harris wants Trump's MIC to stay unmuted during entire upcoming debate. Harris versus Trump election debate in the balance over muted microphones. Russian army good in winter fighting, claims Trump.
Trump says we gotta restrict the First Amendment, and Donald Trump warns of World War III during speech in Detroit. Georgia governor inquires whether he can remove MAGA election board members after series of alarming votes. 1M plus ineligible voters removed from Texas rolls since 2021, Governor Abbott says.
CNN reports that Trump's businesses are raking in millions of dollars from Republican political campaigns, including his own. Missouri Attorney General's legal war against media matters shot down by federal judge. Federal judge rules Missouri's Second Amendment Preservation Act unconstitutional.
75% of all Bitcoin has been hodled for over 6 months. Gold bars are worth $1 million for the first time. Chinese banks hold key lending rates after PBOC signals caution. Former CEO of Kansas Bank sentenced to over 24 years for $47 million crypto fraud. Australian regulator shuts down over 600 crypto scams in the past year. Shaquille O'Neal will have to defend some of the allegations against him in the Astrals NFT lawsuit. Bank of Ghana unveils draft rules for cryptocurrency exchanges. Nigeria planning to present law to tax crypto by September, claimed in a report. Coin Center wins right to sue U.S. Treasury. IRS again over controversial tax reporting rule, as U.S. considers including crypto transactions in fiat reporting rules.
USDC tap to pay on Apple iPhone, incoming soon, announced Circle CEO. Nearly 90% of developers surveyed say premium games don't need microtransactions. China's Supreme Court revises anti-money laundering law to include virtual assets.
Franklin Templeton expands FOBXX tokenized money market fund to Avalanche blockchain. Trump promotes family's new crypto platform, the Defiant Ones. Ethereum ETF sees $14.30 million daily inflow via Fidelity, and Bitcoin ETFs record 6th consecutive trading day of inflows amid BlackRock surge.
Australia's securities regulator wins case against Kraken's local operator. Former FTX executive Ryan Salami claims government backtracked on plea deal announced in filing, and former FTX executive's girlfriend faces campaign finance charges. Omega Pro co-founder arrested in Turkey on suspicion of $4 billion Ponzi scheme, claimed in reports.
For role in Karakurt cybercrime group. China extradites mastermind behind $14 billion crypto pyramid scheme. KlueCoin founder pleads guilty to stealing $1.1 million of investor funds for online gambling.
In the U.S., Kentucky prisoners hack state-issued computer tablets to digitally create $1 million. Sam Altman's WorldCoin violated data policies, Colombia regulator says. Hacker uses McDonald's Instagram to steal $700,000 in memecoin rug pull.
FBI recovers $5 million from pig butchering crypto scam. As in 2 pig butcher busts, federal authorities recover $5 million. Former Kansas Bank CEO jailed. SEC pushes back against Hex founder Richard Hart's efforts to dismiss case. 1 month ago, SEC charges Hex founder Richard Hart with misappropriating millions of dollars of investor funds from unregistered crypto asset securities offerings that raised more than $1 billion. Who controls Hex? Pulse Chain, and PulseX.
Sony is launching an Ethereum L2 called Sonium to realize the open internet, as Sony, Startail unveiled blockchain project in latest Web3 foray. Tether CEO says no plans for a USDT network. ETH Layer 2 Lisk partners to bring Indonesian government-supported Web3 program as Lisk and Jerica Nasional 1000 Startup Digital unveil Ignite 3. Shiba Inu announces launch of decentralized autonomous organization. Stablecoins hit record market cap of nearly $170 billion after year of growth. India's CBDC has 5M users, can be phased in gradually. Central bank governor. In Singapore, second richest man in China jail for 6 years over $5 million crypto fraud. Abra reaches settlement with SEC over unregistered securities violations. SEC charges siblings over $60 million Ponzi, touting a crypto trading bot.
Russia initiates crypto trials for cross-border payments amid sanctions crisis. Ecuador central bank announced as, "We do not have power to ban crypto."
Coinbase base layer 2 hits 1 million daily active addresses, as base names go parabolic. Hong Kong regulator finds unsatisfactory practices at some crypto entities seeking full license, report. Rhodium Bitcoin mining firm declares bankruptcy in Texas court.
U.S. approves $3.5 billion sale of military helicopters to South Korea. Laser weapon appears on Chinese amphibious assault ship. Switzerland offers $60,000 cash prize for ideas to rid its iconic alpine lakes of military ammunition.
Russia's United Shipbuilding Company and Baku Shipyard to start constructing river-to-sea tankers, announced by Putin, and Russia's Gazprom, Azerbaijan's Soka to broaden multifaceted strategic partnership. Gazprom CEO Alexei Miller said. Azerbaijan, Russia act as allies, friends, announced Aliyev, and durable peace in South Caucasus in everyone's best interests, said Putin. Moscow is ready to get involved in Azerbaijan and Armenia peace process, Putin says.
Hyundai and Kia are closing the gap with Tesla as U.S. EV market share hits double digits. Alphabet's Waymo introduces new hardware with sensors better armed against winters. Trump says he may end EV tax credit, is open to naming Elon Musk as an advisor.
Canadian retail giant makes £29.2 billion bid for 7-Eleven. Purdue recalls £167,000 of chicken nuggets after consumers find metal wire in some packages. AMD to buy server maker, designer ZT Systems in $4.9 billion challenge to Nvidia.
Former British officer says Putin's life is at risk from insider poisoning. Russia blacklists 32 British think tank experts, announced by Russian Foreign Ministry.
In the U.S., House Intelligence Committee chairman says Iran could declare itself a nuclear weapons state by the end of the year. U.S. intelligence officials say Iran is to blame for hacks targeting Trump and Biden-Harris campaigns. Iran demands U.S. proof of Tehran's alleged interference in presidential election. Former Saudi official alleges Crown Prince forged king's signature on Yemen war decree.
Commander says Russian conscripts must fight in Kursk Oblast, promises heaven for killed. Operation in Russia's Kursk Oblast would have been called unrealistic, so it was kept secret, says Zelensky, and Ukraine in control of 92 settlements in Russia's Kursk Oblast, Zelensky claims. Ukraine may join NATO despite being partially occupied by Russia, Czech president says. Canada to pause approval of temporary foreign workers for low-wage jobs in Montreal. Youth unemployment in China jumps to 17.1% in July. Charities condemn abuse and exploitation amid Scottish fish firm modern slavery investigation.
Kroger sues FTC, calling its in-house judges unconstitutional, as food industry pushes back against Kamala Harris's price gouging plan. Walmart's use of digital price tags signal the future of retail shopping, but consumers are worried. In Argentina, the government will make available to the public a database of 12 million daily prices from 3,600 supermarkets across the country.
U.S. and Mexico trade surpasses $415 billion, through first half of 2024. Future murky for Russia to China pipeline, as Mongolia omits project from long-term plan. King Mohammed VI grants royal pardon to over 4,800 in cannabis-related cases.
1979 Ford Probe IGEA concept burned leaving Monterey Car Week. Dry ice shortages limit carry-out ice cream orders in Japan. GM reveals GMC Yukon at 4 Ultimate to expand reach, profits of high-end SUVs.
FAA orders 787 cockpit seat inspections after rise in incidents. China court accepts liquidation, hearing against Evergrande unit. In the U.S., 10 more states sign onto Department of Justice's Live Nation Ticketmaster antitrust suit.
$16,000 humanoid robot, Unit 3's G1 set for mass production. AI tongue scanner can diagnose illnesses with 96% accuracy. MasterCard is phasing out magnetic stripes. The Epic Games Store launches on mobile. Steve Jobs' personally owned and worn leather bomber jacket, worn in the iconic 1983 middle finger to IBM photo, is on auction. US FDA clears use of Cresselin's gel to stop severe bleeding in seconds. Microplastics are infiltrating brain tissue, studies show.
"11 Hong Kong banks pledge quicker credit in HKMA's task force to help small businesses." Amid private credit boom, Dallas fintech SEEP lands $30 million Series B to expand tech-enabled solutions. UBS activism bankers depart for roles at BOF